Hello and welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. This is the News Crew and I'm your host, Keith McGinty. A week after the 2023 NFL Draft, the War Room boards have all been wiped clean, the hat cam mirror has been tidied away for another year, and Will Levis has the funds from his draft night suit that he returned showing in his bank account. Tonight we'll pour over the biggest picks, surprising dips, and what this means for the Cardinals' first two picks next year. So, in this episode, we'll also talk about the latest NFL news, discuss what the draft means for the fortunes of the teams in the NFL, and of course, impart superior wisdom to make your friends think you know your stuff with our statistic of the week. Like, subscribe, and follow the crew on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. And as always, I'm joined by some of the finest crew members. The conscious of Cleveland, how y'all doing? It's Brian. How you doing, Brian?
I'm very well, mate. I don't know about the voice. I'm on board with the moniker, but I like to think I sound less like Watson than that. But no,
that was a Cleveland Brown. Do you not a Family Guy fan?
Do you know actually? It seriously take me a minute to twig. That's been a long time since I've watched any Family Guy. but yeah, no, mate, I'm good. Coming down off the high of the draft, and yeah, looking forward to chat through all of the reasons why Cleveland are clearly the anointed champions of the North, and Stu can spend a year weeping into his glorious beard.
He's got more Jordan love than a sneakers convention. It's Liam. Liam, thanks very much for joining us at the very last minute as well.
Thanks for having us, as always. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a fun couple of, a week. How many weeks? I've lost track. When was the draft? Was it last weekend or the weekend before? I've lost track already.
We're a week post draft. It was this time last week. We were just getting ready for the draft. It's been a whirlwind for yourself, Liam. I can tell you're just come to terms with it all. Great to have you aboard, mate. Looking forward to chatting with you tonight. It started with Billy Ray Cyrus and a mullet. Now he's the crew's resident cowboy. It's Dan. Dan, how we doing tonight?
I'm good, mate. Yourself? All good. I'm glad to be back.
Terrific here.
I'm looking forward to seeing our draft rankings for last week.
The scores are in. Don't you worry, mate. The scores are here.
He thinks he's done well. That's what it is. He's getting
I know
already.
I know how many I got, but whether it falls in Brian's point system, we don't know.
Oh, very, very complex point system's been
a subjective system.
Yeah.
From the Bengals big cats to the Bengals big stats, an all-round nice nerd. It's Stu.
All right, how you doing?
How are we, my friend?
There was a lot of alliteration there. That was impressive.
Oh, no, I really enjoyed that. It set me off, put me off a stride there a little bit, but no, I'm doing great here. It's now turned into the hotter than balls season. It's hotter than Lamar's contract. Oh, the news dropped about that. It's 30 degrees.
No way.
Here, it's 30 degrees. We've got forest fires going up all around about the city, so it's smoky and it smells quite good though. It's like a campfire.
You just got rid of the snow like
no. Well, that's
why we took down the Christmas lights.
That's why we've went
put them back up.
Well, pretty much. Well, I mean, that's why we've went straight into forest fire season. Is we just had everything melted. There's been no rain, and it's just went to instant heat. So, I mean, I guess the plus side that everybody keeps talking about is it means the mosquito season is not going to be anywhere near as bad this year because there's no moisture and all the grasslands have burnt to death. So there'll be nowhere for the mosquitoes to live. Like, I think I'd take the mosquitoes, to be honest. Like, but anyway, apart from that, it's all good.
Apart from my country being on fire.
Yes.
I was going to change the kickoff question to then, what's more dangerous or more deadly, a midgie or a mosquito? But we do have a kickoff question, and the kickoff question, quite topical. We had the draft last week. How long would Will Levis have to have fallen for his girlfriend, Gia Duddy, to actually have dumped him live on camera? Was that not a wee sin for the poor man last week? He's brand new suit, looking all dapper, and then team after team after team passed on. Someone who was quite highly hyped to go quite high in the first round, top 10 certainly. I think he was. The rumours had been spreading that he might even be going at number 2. So, what do we think? How far would they have fallen before Gia had upped and walked out on him? Or do you
I'm
feel
waiting.
sorry for Will? Dan, I'll come to you first. Do you feel sorry for Will that it turned out that way?
I'm blaming Stubbs for it after I'm predicting him going to the Colts at 4. It's his fault. It was quite excruciating to watch. Sometimes I think the camera just kept going to him, and you know when that starts happening, you're like, this isn't going to go well. I don't know if anybody's seen the video of his missus telling him that she needed to go for a pee. Like, well, he can't go because the camera keeps coming to him. You need to be sitting beside him.
She actually clarified that she didn't actually say that. I know the lip readers there. She said that can that happen or something like that is what she's trying to say. Yeah.
What, peeing on the couch or going to the toilet? Can that happen?
No, he's
but the
new
cameras
suit.
will follow you.
I need to get the suit back to the shop. Don't do near me.
Yeah. Did you watch much of the draft then last week then, gents? Brian, what about yourself?
Do you know what? I actually
you'll
did
be on
manage
Ghost.
I did manage to get bits. I am on. I'm in training. I'm in training. Baby Donlan's arriving shortly, so I'm getting the late nights in to get myself ready and ready to act under all the sleep deprived conditions that lay in front of me. But yeah, no, I managed to watch kind of reasonable chunks of it. Obviously, the Levis thing we'll kind of come to it when we talk about our mock draft that we had the other week. We thought he would go a wee bit higher than that, but I don't know. It's one of these hindsight and all the rest of it. If we look back to the reports that were coming out, no, it's not a massive surprise that he fell. Maybe the depth that he fell is the bigger surprise that I'm falling in general. But yeah, we'll wait and see. It's the thing. Falling's not always a bad thing because your situation can improve when you fall. So we just need to wait and see which of these guys makes the best of the landing spot they've wound up in.
What do you think, Liam? Is it actually knocked it out the park a wee bit, going to the Titans in the second round, quite early in the second round as well? That was nice of them not to leave him hanging too long.
Yeah, they drafted up to get him, didn't they? But
Mm-hmm.
I do worry about the Titans. I think this season they seem to be like a bit of a rebuild mode. They didn't draft. Did they draft a wide receiver in the end? I can't remember, but nowhere high anyway. If they ended up, so they still just got Burks in there, and then was it Conco, the tight end, I think.
Yep.
And then if all the rumours all off season about Henry moving on, maybe not, but surely it's just Henry or bust, really. So for the Titans, so
Henry Tilbust.
Yeah,
Henry until his knees finally explode.
That's a good one, Stu. Who's going to explode first, Henry or Josh Jacobs? Who's going to be running into the ground first?
I mean, to be honest, I'm a fan of Josh Jacobs, but I feel like this might be a bridge too far. If the Raiders haven't totally addressed the O-line situation, then they're just going to run him into the ground. But luckily, Jimmy G's a decent quarterback, so that should kind of help there. He's maybe going to be throwing the ball around a little bit more.
Yeah.
What was happening last year with Derek Carr, and then once Derek Carr got bumped down the order a little bit. But going back to Will Levis, though, I think the Titans is a very good spot for him. And also the other advantage of him going early in the second round is if it does work out for him, he's basically got he's a year closer to getting his contract or his bigger contract, like the way Jalen Hurts was this year as well, because that's why Hurts has been signed before Burrow and Herbert and all those other guys, because they technically have another year where they can be extended, which the Bengals have obviously done. They've exercised that fifth-year option, but it's obviously that just because talks are ongoing kind of things, so I expect him to be done soon. But yeah, from Levis's camp, I would still say going high second round, that's still absolutely perfect. That still means you're definitely a top prospect. And the fact that he can sit and learn from Tannehill for a year before he takes over as the starting quarterback for the Titans, that's great. And it also gives them another year or another draft next year to see what they can get to improve the situation, or maybe upgrade that O-line a bit, maybe kind of give them an extra weapon or two, and just build from there. So I think Levis, as much as he fell, I think he's definitely landed on his feet. And the Titans clearly wanted him, which is maybe why there were all the rumours about him going so early, because I think it maybe got out that they were high on him. So everyone's going, oh, they're picking it 11th or whenever it is, so maybe they'll trade up. And in the end, they never picked him first round. So that obviously kind of raised some eyebrows. But they obviously took the risk that after them, you got into that kind of once you hit into the 20s, you get into that grey zone where there was nobody in that zone that was looking for a quarterback, so he wasn't going to get picked. So the Titans knew that, you know what, we could probably trade up to the top of the second and get our guy.
Yeah, I mean,
That's exactly it.
We were saying
Titans,
on the chat, sorry, Keith.
you go, Dan.
We were on the chat during the draft. So you got to mid-teens, and you're thinking, there's nobody else in this draft, the first round, that needs a quarterback here. There was maybe, I think, we looked at Washington and maybe Seattle were the two teams that were left in the top with 16 to go, and you're thinking So as much as it might be a bit of surprise that he fell, when you started looking at the draft order, when he got to that mid-teens, you thought he's going to drop here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the Vikings might have been sniffing about him there, but they took Addison at 23.
Which is a good
Titans
pick.
In the first.
One of the ones worth bearing in mind with Levis, but that might help him long term. It'll hurt him short term. The difference in what he's going to bring in. I mean, rookie contracts are always team friendly. You know what I mean? We all know this, but like the difference is he's going to come in at around about $9.5 million. Whereas you compare that to Richardson, who went 4th overall, he's going to come in at around about $34 million. Wow. So you know, what I mean, does that mean the Titans can just put more pieces around him to put him in a better situation longer term gives him more of an opportunity to show what he can do?
Although he's older as well at 23, the plan for Levis was always going to be that he's still a project. He's not fit, ready to come straight into the team to take over. You're just hoping that he's going to get the time, maybe some game time this season to actually show what he can do. So we'll be interested to see what they do. We are going to now move on to the latest news. Not much been happening. I think it's been mostly dominated by the draft, which we'll move on to after we sweep up the last wee bits of the news. Big one then. Let's start with in the news, the Giants. General manager was talking about Saquon Barkley, saying how before the draft they met with the representatives of Saquon to see if there was an appetite for him to take a new contract there with the Giants. What they agreed to do is we'll have a wee discussion after the draft. So it sounds as if it's positive there. I think it's a good spot for him to be. We'd all kind of written him off after his injuries, but then last season he came back with an absolute bang. I think it's a great spot for him to be, and it'll be interesting to see how quickly they can get that deal wrapped up and how long for, because the Giants are certainly investing in their team. What do you think, Liam? Is it a good spot for him to be, or do you think he should really start considering maybe moving on from the Giants?
I don't think he should consider moving on. I think he's a kind of marquee player, really, isn't he? He's head of dimes as well, so kind of marquee wise. So it'll be interesting to see. I suppose the running back market isn't the strongest, shall we say? So it'll be interesting to see what kind of deal we can get out of him. So because he kind of deserves it, to be honest with you, doesn't he? So, but he kind of touching on other teams doing other things we might touch on later, like the Eagles, how they've kind of addressed their running back room a lot cheaper. So who knows? But it makes sense. It kind of makes sense for the team to come out and say they want to be signing him. It'd be crazy for them to say someone otherwise, wouldn't it?
Brian, the Giants don't really have much else then if they're looking for the running room for the real playmakers there.
Are you besmirching the name of Matt Breida? Are you besmirching Matt Breida?
He's talking them up. I might be trying to sell him in the fantasy.
Yeah, no, don't be wrong. See, Murdo will be a resident Giants fan. Will be hating me for saying this. I've got a sneaky feeling that the Giants might be gearing up to do our Raiders and just run Saquon into the ground, and then if he breaks, he breaks. You know what I mean? Running backs, it's not a position. He's not going to get bank. He's not going to get a huge, and if he does, it'll be very surprising that he gets a huge deal. He is the focal point of that offense. You know what I mean? He is as Liam says, the marquee player that they have, but he plays in a position that just the league isn't paying anymore. You know what I mean? At all. So yeah, they're going to give him something. You know what I mean? They'll do something to get him to sign up. Do they? So he's refused to sign the tag. He's refused to play under the franchise tag, which is what their plan was for him. So I don't really know what other flexibility they have. I just don't see them giving him a big payday. they'll want to run him into the ground and then take that, if they need to take a spin in the draft next year and they're running back in the second, third, fourth round or whatever, go for it. Saquon he will only have a limited lifespan. You know what I mean? It's the nature of the position. And he's already got the injury history that we know he has. You know what I mean? He's got all the talent in the world, but he's not getting paid. No, in a big way anyway. It's one that'll upset the Giants fans, but.
What do you think, Stu? Is he worth it? Do you think he would be worthwhile try to keep him on? Brian mentioned the injury that he had 2 years ago. Is that maybe something that will be playing on their mind when it comes to the discussions, or is he shown that he's brushed that aside last season with his impressive showings? I'll just get his stats up just now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in terms of the injuries, as much as obviously one way of looking at it is, he's had a couple of injuries, he's prone. I can't remember what they all were, because I know one of them was a break though. So for broken bones, obviously that could happen to anybody. The other way of looking at the injuries though is, it sort of means that he has less wear on other parts of his body that running backs maybe do have traditionally. Or of one that would be of his age. So to me, I kind of look at Barkley and go, well, if he's definitely over it was ACL, wasn't it? I think
so.
One of the tendon injuries. Well, usually with ACL injuries, once you're a couple of years out from them, you're not going to do it again. Like everything's healed up pretty well. So to me, I actually look up and say, I think he's got another 2-3 years of being a very high producing running back. But if you're the Giants and you want to protect yourself contract wise, what I could see them doing is finding a way to, and this is obviously where the sticking point is with Barkley and his agent, they'll be trying to find a way to front load it. So also it means maybe in 2 years' time, if they cut him, there's not as much dead cap space. So that's kind of another way of doing it. In terms of the room, though, I actually really like the guy that I was pretty high on, Eric Gray, who they picked in the draft this weekend, and I would say
fifth round or something, wasn't it?
Fifth round. He's a guy that could be a potential starter, and I mean, obviously Barkley's has a lot more talent than he does, but I think Eric Gray's maybe going to be a good fallback option, or maybe in a couple of years' time, if Barkley does start falling down, he'll be the guy. But I would predict that even by the end of this season, sorry Keith, Breda's going to be RB3 if anything. So I think Eric Gray's taking his job. So sorry about that.
And believe me, I'm absolutely fine with that. We've seen that. We saw that with the Seahawks taking Charbonnet to give Kenneth Walker a wee bit of a help, a wee bit of rest, maybe extend his career a wee bit. Saquon actually had one of his best years. This is his fifth. Last year was his 5th year, and it was quite reminiscent of his first year. 295 rushing attempts for 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns, which is similar to his first year, his breakout year in 2018 with 261 attempts, 1,300 yards again, but 11 touchdowns. So I'm really back to true form, you would say, last season. So we'll wait and see how this season coming will go from. But it'll be interesting to see how the Giants deal with it. I think it would be a big plus if they can keep him on. And as you say, crew member Murdo will certainly be delighted with that. Who else have we got? We had Donovan to the Chiefs. Donovan, Dan, you mentioned
Donovan Smith.
Donovan Smith. I forgot to type Smith in.
Not Devonta Smith that I said.
Just Donovan. Just Donovan. The singer-songwriter Donovan has went to the Chiefs
to play at tackle.
Jason. Kylie Minogue will be singing the anthem before every game.
Yeah, so picked him at a 1-year deal. They're talking $9 million for the year. I think a lot of that might be incentive related rather than hard cash. A Chiefs fan that I know is talking $1.5 million salary, $1 million signing bonus, the rest incentives. But sure, it'll all come out over the next week or so. But they're not expecting it to be a massive amount of upfront cash.
Brian, is this a good move for the Chiefs? Is this a hole that they were needing to plug, or?
Oh yeah, they've only got. I'm just looking at their depth chart now. As far as ESPN's listening at their depth chart, he's going to walk in at starting left tackle. So you know what I mean? It's a reasonably tricky game to play without a left tackle. But this is one that's. Why are you making me say nice things about Kansas? They've got a front office that knows what they're doing. You know what I mean? They're a really well-run team. You'd be foolish to think that they are going to make anything that's not a reasonable move to protect Pat. So I'm sure it'll be good, and it sickens me to say it.
That's what we're really needing, Liam. Is just more protection for Patrick Mahomes. Eh? That's just what the rest of the league needs to hear.
I know. Just see what else he can do with his sidearm throws.
We'd mentioned we're going to move on to the draft, but something that happened mid-draft last week was that DeAndre Swift left the Lions to go to the Eagles. Is it Rosen, the GM for the Eagles, working his magic yet again? Howie Rosen. What do you think there, Liam? A terrific bit of business by the Eagles, who not only did they manage to get Swift, but they took with the 11th pick they had. No, they weren't the 11th pick.
I think it was the ninth, wasn't it?
10.
Yeah, the Eagles were the 9th. They managed to get Jalen Carter, probably the highest thought of player on the board at that time, with maybe some personal issues that have put some suitors off, but that seems a bit unfair that the Eagles that got to the Super Bowl have strengthened so much already.
It's a bit crazy, isn't it? Just all the Georgia defensive players, just about, except for the two in Green Bay. We'll take those. But touching on Swift, what was it, like a 2025 fourth and something else or something? That wasn't it the deal? I think
it was.
It was
there was a couple
nothing.
of they flipped picks in a couple of spots, and then there was the extra fourth.
And then I was reading apparently, like, obviously he's only like 1 year left, so if he leaves after his year, they basically get a compensatory pick back. Basically, could be up to a fourth. You're like, well, what?
It only cost them 1.7 million as well.
It's like, why didn't any other team think of this?
Well, apparently the Browns were in on.
We were.
The thing is they didn't have high enough picks to swap at the top end of the draft. That was the issue, kind of thing. But the Browns are obviously looking to replace Hunt.
Yeah,
with that move, because that would have been DeAndre Swift and Chubb together. But I think Swift's landed on his feet.
Yeah, it's definitely a cheap way to rebuild their. I was saying, touching on earlier, cheap way to get the running back room back up and running. They've got him now and Penny on a cheap deal as well. Okay, both injury prone, but just swap them in and out every 6 games. It'll be fine.
Surely between them they can put together a season.
Yeah.
Surely between them they can make like 8 games.
Have they still got Gainwell, or did he leave?
Gainwell and Boston Scott.
And Boston Scott to play against the Giants and get all the touchdowns, isn't it?
Because they were because as much as Sanders was the main guy there, like they were still kind of rolling in Boston Scott and Gainwell quite often. So I think you'll probably still see those two are going to be there, and then it'll basically be whoever is not injured out of Swift and Penny will be there. So the Eagles will be fine.
in that exceptionally competitive NFC.
The Eagles, of course, they then drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, Dan, to take the place of DeAndre Swift. Do you think that's
right? Jahmyr Gibbs.
The Lions, yeah.
Sorry, Lions, not Lions.
I was thinking another one. Like, what did So the Lions just went, here's a pick.
After sending Swift, Jahmyr Gibbs was brought in as his replacement, something that you would think that they'd been planning for a wee while. Dan, do you think that's an inspired move there from what you've heard about?
I think he looks good, but I think it's a reach at 12. Considering how much they paid David Montgomery, I just pulled David Montgomery's contract up there. He signed 18 million. They paid for him 11 million at guaranteed.
It's a lot for a running back.
So you've got David Montgomery, who you've paid some amount, and then you go and pick Gibbs at 12. I think, Stu, you were talking maybe the Bengals at 28 for Gibbs. You're kind of looking.
And I was saying, like, even that would be. I wasn't really a fan of that move. Like, I've been hearing a lot of that in the ether of we're looking at him near the end of the first round, and then I'd seen him mocked like kind of in that sort of 25 and up, like to low 30s. So I thought, like, okay, end of the first round. I don't really like the idea of taking a running back at the end of the first round even, but I went, well, he is the second best running back in the draft. But my eyebrows and yours, because we were talking about during it when it was happening live, I couldn't believe that when Detroit, took him there. I was just like, what are they doing?
So basically, the Lions are saying that he is only 4 picks behind Bijan.
Aye.
That's crazy.
Was there not some chat that they thought they came out and said they'd take him ahead of Bijan? I'm sure there was some weird.
They had him. They said
Some
they had him
mental-
top of their board. They said Gibbs was the guy that was top of their board.
Probably because they weren't expecting Bijan to still be there when he came on the clock. To be fair.
Yeah.
That's like when you do something really, really daft and you're proven to have done something. Oh no, I meant it. That was meant. I really meant that the whole time. It was planned.
I think it's a massive, massive reach. And we know Brian doesn't like running backs going in the first round.
Nope.
But Bijan, you can understand going, but
Bijan, I get it, yeah.
It's a massive, massive reach.
Absolutely, I think so. Gentlemen, first of all, I should have said thanks very much to Brian for last week's standing in for me. Did a terrific job hosting the past couple of weeks, so thanks very much, Brian. But I've got to say, I was very impressed with your draft for the first 10 last week, and Brian's going to give us our ratings to see how close you were to the actual real draft that happened. It was great listening back and after the draft had happened. I'm looking forward to seeing how you have scored here. So Brian, over to you.
Oh, we were good. We were I'm actually genuinely quite impressed that we were like pretty on point. So I'm not going to run back through it because, as I say, my master plan with that draft to actually have us do it like a draft failed miserably. After
We never explained that.
We just started players.
It worked out very well. I think
Apart
for the Colts trading, no Colts. Who did you have trading in? Stu that blew up.
Titans.
I had the Titans move up.
Trade up.
But the one that you blew up in the second pick. It just threw the draft off.
Well, none of us called the Texans insanity, and nobody's seen that one coming.
Yeah.
But so what I did, I went back over it, and I had a look at all the picks that we made. I've scored this, gentlemen. There are scores.
Ooh.
So everybody likes a score. So the way that it works is if you got your we're not worrying about the trades so much. It's more just about getting players in their draft spot. Right?
Yeah.
So if you got a player and you got their spot bob on, you get a point. If you get a player correct but out of a spot, you get half a point and you get nothing for a miss. And a special mention to me because somehow when I was hosting it, I was a tit and I forgot to make 2 picks. So when we score this at the end, my percentages look a bit more favourable than they actually are. Because I'm only percenting myself out of 8 as opposed to 10. So
he's a cheat.
Some might call this cheating. I call this ensuring sporting integrity. So in last place with 3.5 points or a 35% total was Studs, who got 1 hit. With as we all got the same one.
That's why he's not here tonight.
Bryce Young, we all called Bryce. Nobody was surprised at Bryce going off the board. Then Studs had another 5 hits and he had 4 misses. Big misses. Again, I share this one with him. We both called Will Levis. A couple of us called Gonzalez to go in the top 10, and then up there again with Nolan Smith and Skoronsky. Well, the ones that were wee misses. Coming in second because. This gives it away a wee bit. Was it that we didn't have one winner? Second place for myself with my slightly artificial inflation of my score, because I also get 3.5 points, but because I'm only scoring myself, because I'm scoring myself at 8. No, well, me and Stud's technically at the same score, but I'm saying he get 3.5
You're getting
out of 10. I get 3.5 out of 8.
So nearly 50%.
Nearly 50%. Yeah, my only 2 whiffs were Will Levis and Skoronsky. And then gentlemen, the pair of you, Ichi Peachy, with 5 points apiece, as you both got Bryce Young, Bob on, and you both got Richardson going at 4. The big controversial one. And then you both whiffed on Perry's only 2 whiffs. The top 10. You get all 8 other players you got. Dan, you called Gonzalez and Van Ness going in the top 10. They obviously didn't. And Stu, for yourself, it was Skoronsky and Smith. So yes, well done, gentlemen. You have Grid Irn-Cru draft champions. You can get a bag of dollar
There's-
mixtures that you can share or something.
Yes, like massive nerds, Dan. Like we kind of sort of know the top 10 better. We obviously did our research a bit better
Yeah, that's it.
before I put it down to that. And and the reason Brian only did his out of 8 was probably because of me derailing the draft by immediately throwing in a trade.
What did you say you missed, Brian? Was it 7 and
7
and
and
eight?
7 and 8. So
Yeah.
the Raiders and the Falcons. I was just moved it on because well, to be
You've
fair,
still got your notes. Have you not? Who did you have?
to be fair, I had with the Falcons. I bottled it because I genuinely thought the Falcons would trade out. I didn't see the Falcons making a pick at all. I thought they would. I thought they would just trade back. Raiders. I think I basically just had them going best player available. I really know
So was
the
that
Raiders have got literally like needs all. Like, positions of strength non-applicable.
Well, Jimmy G, Jacobs, breakups.
Breakups. That's more accurate. Oh, hang on. So a bit of breaking news, boys. Is it's just appeared here. Dexter Lawrence has just agreed a 4-year, $90 million contract with the Giants. $60 million guaranteed.
Okay, so he's done. Does that mean
So
Saquon's
he's
going
signed
to get
up.
done next? Yeah. Well, that's a good move. Lawrence is a good player. Dan, how do you feel about that? Your division.
I know.
Yeah.
I think the Giants are kind of I still think the Giants are a bit in transition. One of my best mates is a Giants fan, and he's not even massively sold on Daniel Jones as a future franchise quarterback. I don't think the Giants are our biggest worry in the NFC, so what we'll say.
Very diplomatic.
Do you think, like, this is me just trying to rain on the Giants parades? So I'm sorry to all the Giants fans out there. If Dable was to get another job somewhere else, like if somebody, a more glamorous team kind of drew his attention, do you think that the Giants' entire franchise basically just collapses in on itself like a deck of cards?
Yes.
Certainly seems that he's arrived and everything works. Before he was here, it was an absolute fire.
He took everybody with him as well, didn't he? So they would all go again. The whole team would just
the whole coaching
because he's got all his players and all his coaches in with him.
Where would they likely go though? Does it seem to be something that happens in the NFL that players, that coaches are poached as regularly as the football that we watch?
No thought about that. Yeah, if you look at the teams that are highly performing, and ones that you would say would move to ahead of the Giants, they're all got set with their head coaches. I mean,
it would take a retirement of like a Reed.
Well,
I mean, would you go to the Pats from the Giants? I don't know if I would. I mean, maybe I'm just being too anti-New England here, but I feel
Giants seem like they're on the way up.
New York Giants is a big name. I know the Pats are obviously a big name team now, but the G-men have a lot more history about them.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. He definitely. I mean, I don't think Mike McCarthy's got long left at us, but I don't think Daboll somebody that we would go for. But obviously in division and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think.
Yeah, it's a whole other layer.
I don't think he's the type of person we would go for.
Maybe he's the type of person that could finally get the best out of Dak.
Well, I was hoping we were going to get Sean Payton for that, but that's not going to happen. I mean, Sean Payton would have been my first choice. What happens after that?
Daboll's good. He's no Jesus.
No.
Hey, gentlemen, we will move on to our discussion then about the draft. It was an exciting couple of days watching it. How would you approach it? Right, so say you've got the ticket, you're allowed to come out and introduce it for your team. Would you go absolutely mental like some of them, or would you be going a wee bit of class and a wee bit of thing there? Would you go for a really snide dig at your opponents?
I'd be all Drew Pearson every day of the week.
I think the Bengals. I forgot his name, but fan of the year, the Bengals super fan.
That was a suit and a half.
Or the guy that made the pick in the second round when he came out and he did the coin toss in Kansas City. I was just like, this is perfect. Like, get it right up, like, go up there. You take your moment, because apparently their speeches are kind of vetted before they get out there. And they just go, some people go out and they just go, no. Go hard left and go, nah, this is what I'm really going to say, kind of thing. So, no, I really enjoyed that. I thought, because he never, he didn't swear or anything like that. And that's as long as you're not saying anything that isn't child appropriate, why not have a bit of fun and have a dig?
I quite like the Bills guy that get absolutely thrown into the Kansas City Chiefs fans that were there.
Aye.
He was terrific.
He
He
was
just
good.
went maximum energy. Aye, yeah, he was
Did you
absolutely
see the
terrific.
Falcons fan?
Yeah, the Falcons one. I was going to say that was a good one. The
Do you know
28-3.
a false suit with the Falcons logo over it, with an old WWE heavyweight title with ATL spray painted on it like NWO style.
Yeah.
He's the one that got he's the one that got heckled, wasn't he? The 28-3
Yeah.
as well, wasn't
I think somebody heckled him 28-3, that's right, aye. But his
Yeah.
reply was pretty good. It's like,
Yes,
it's not the
true,
first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
The week,
Um,
the Jets boy, he was great. You know, the wee kid. that was out
He
in
was
the
good.
first
He
round.
was good.
I loved him. I'm a kind of sucker for a sort
Getting
of
away in it.
survivor. A win and also like a kind of survivor story
Well,
and stuff
yeah.
like that as
Yeah.
well. So I thought he was
Absolutely.
absolutely class though. Like,
Falcons, the first round draft, the Falcons as well. The young boy done that as well.
aye.
I seen a video that Bijan phoned him the other day and offered him tickets to a game. They're going to fly his family and everything to a game.
Yeah.
Rather than flying
That's
tickets
nice.
to a game like that.
Class. The
Absolutely.
NFL does that so well. The pageantry with all their military stuff, they've got a weird fascination with, but they do it so well, especially when it comes to the honouring like the wee kids that, like as you say, with the survivor stories and people that are. I like the one last season. Was it the Ravens that had one of their fans had passed away and they had their name in the end zone?
Yeah. Aye,
there
was a good couple of weeks they did that.
Yeah.
Aye, absolutely class. So, a record draft for the number of quarterbacks drafted. There was 14 in total drafted. There was new records set for the number of trades during the draft, and the running backs were devalued no longer. What did you make of this year's draft, then, gentlemen? Dan, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I've stayed up and watched the first round. It means to sat and watched the whole first round, and I enjoyed watching. I watched the last year's first round, but I wasn't massively into it. This year I was more into it. Obviously, been involved with you guys and paying more attention to what was going on. So I enjoyed it. I kind of dipped in and out of the later rounds through work and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great thing all around the draft. And I really enjoyed watching it this year.
What about yourself, Brian? Did you catch much of it?
Big, it's not as much as I would like. Time difference is obviously the big challenge for us. But we caught big chunks of it, and it's one of the things I wish it would work for like more sport. I obviously understand why it doesn't. I love the draft as a concept. I think it's brilliant. The whole notion that theoretically the poorest teams get the crack at the best emerging talent. Just as a notion is fantastic. And as you say, you get the pageantry with it. You've got the boys sat in the green room and you get to, watch Will Levis gets more and more and more nervous as the evening goes on. But no, I think all of that's fantastic. And as I say, you get, all the stories about these guys as well. And then, well, as you say, the record-setting amount of trades, the drama, like, I don't know who was it, somebody was saying that Pelissaro called it. Nonsense. Nobody called that Texans trade. There is nobody out there who called the Texans getting those trades in to get the number 2 and 3 picks in. That's just the drama of things like that. It's just brilliant. And for something that shouldn't be good TV, it's amazing TV. Now you think about it is, and you're like, really? We're going to watch them
Pick people.
players.
Yeah.
It's like what is this, like the start of PE for the 80s?
Yeah.
But it's brilliant. It's so entertaining.
Stu, do you think it's something we should adopt into our football in the Scottish Premiership? We should adopt that.
Straight to the Kilmarnock fan. Yeah, obviously.
I would first overall.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You need to take the whole thing into kind of consideration. And I would love to say yes, because obviously I follow I'm in Canada, so I follow the NHL. And one of the first years I was here for the NHL, they actually do a draft lottery. So it ends up like any team that finishes in the bottom half, they have different odds. Like obviously, if you're last place in the league, your odds of getting the first overall pick are way higher than like even second, bottom, and it goes all the way up. But one of the first years I was here, the Edmonton Oilers won the draft lottery. They weren't last in the league. I think they were third last that year. But they won the lottery and they got Connor McDavid, who is easily one of the best players that's ever played. And that's, you know, they're now at a stage some 7 years later where they're looking at they might be able to win the cup because they've built the team up around him like over the years since. But it's nice to be able to watch, you know, that growth if teams do it right, because you can still, even if you're picking high, you can still pick the wrong guy and then screw up, or injuries happen and things get derailed. But the problem is for Scottish football or football in general, I don't know, with the current system, how do you make it work? You would have to tear the whole thing down and restart it and then have profit sharing. And I mean, would you really have Rangers wanting to share their money with Kilmarnock or Aberdeen?
Oh, right, Rangers have money.
Too much
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
There's too much socialism in the NFL. That's what it is.
Socialism, but apart from for the owners. You just get all the money. But you know what I mean? Like, sporting wise, though, it's socialism, I guess. Like,
yeah,
it would be lovely to see.
Liam, what was the biggest surprise then for you? Was it Levis falling so much, or was it the Texans with that trade up to get the second pick they got as well?
They had the second and traded up for the third.
So second for the third. That's right.
That was a crazy move, but well, Cardinals did all right. They were kind of restacked their draft picks for the next few seasons. But I think sorry.
The Cardinals have got the Texans first next year, and if the projections are to go by, they could be picking 1-2 next year. That's crazy to think.
Yeah,
crazy to think. Sorry, Liam, on you go.
No, I was just going to say, I think we touched on, the craziest, what seemed the craziest pick, Time will tell, was Gibbs to the Lions. It's so high. Again, I didn't see that coming either. But I suppose, like in the draft, time will tell. You can take all the picks you want, and take the highest, best player on the board, and it might not work out. So we shall see who's right in the end.
Liam, do you know what I thought you were going to say, actually, is your biggest shock of the draft? I thought you were going to say Green Bay picking a load of weapons, like drafting wide receivers and things like that for Jordan Love after years of going, no, Aaron Rodgers, you're not getting a thing.
Well, it's all right. We just shifted a whole wide receiver room to the Jets anyway, so it's fine.
Literally the whole room.
Randall Cobb.
Did you sell them the actual room? Like, did you sell? Like, I'm imagining like the wallpaper, the stuff. The wee pictures I've got up a whole bit, man. Do you know? See, one thing with the Lions, you need to look at, like the Lions draft. The Lions had a really good draft. They just didn't draft any of the players at the times anybody would have thought they should be drafted. But you look back on it, you go, that's a solid haul of talent. Just no idea why they came in that particular bloody order.
I don't know. I still think like the second pick as well. Because I'm just looking at Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell,
18.
I don't think that was a good pick either. Like I thought, I was thinking like this is a reach. Well, considering because then Pittsburgh get Cansey, who was projected to go pretty damn high. Then GSN was sitting there for Seattle, so they took him. Then I started running wide receivers, but it's kind of like, I thought, Deontay Banks or something like that, maybe they'll go for him. But instead they took Jack Campbell, and it's like, well, trade down, because somebody will surely trade up to get one of those other, like either a tackle or one of the wide receivers or a cornerback or somebody that's sitting in there. So, I don't know, like, weird decision to take Campbell.
As well.
What's that?
Nolan Smith was still sitting there.
That's right. Because Nolan Smith went to. That was the thing. If you're going to go linebacker, why did they go for Campbell when Smith was still there? And then Smith ended up falling all the way to the end of the first round to the Eagles, who that was part of their. Oh, we're going to just take all the best players, because didn't they get Adebawari as well?
Yeah.
He was a guy I'd mocked him to early second, mid second, and he ended up dropping like all the way to the fourth. Something like that. And the Eagles took over. It's like, why are we letting them do this?
It's as if everybody went to the Eagles. Who are you taking?
Adebawari went to the Colts.
Why do you go to the Colts?
I was raging because I wanted that. They took him one pick ahead of us, and I was like, oh, that would be ideal.
There was somebody else. It's left my brain, but there was somebody else that fell to the Eagles, and I sat there going, how has this happened? Yeah, I may have been Ringo. Yeah, it was Ringo, because he was really late compared to.
He went 105 overall, so he went at the top of the fourth.
And also,
which again, is for him was late.
just what I remember on cornerbacks, this is something I wanted to bring up. I would
Hmm.
like to point out that the guy that I kind of said maybe the Bengals would look at 28th overall, Emmanuel Forbes. That remember you were making fun of him, Brian, for being a bit
Yeah,
skinny. He went 16th overall to Washington.
Yeah.
So there you go. He was kind of pretty highly. He went before.
You can go there and be
Yeah.
skinny.
He went before Christian Gonzalez.
But it's Washington.
I know it's Washington, but it's still like a case of they obviously, I would say he had first round value is my point. And I mean, I still think he should have been towards the end of the first round, but it's amazing he went one pick before Gonzalez, who the Pats got.
How would you rate the Bengals draft overall then, Stu?
A solid A, to be honest. Like not an A plus, but I would say it's an A. I like the fact that we actually stuck to a plan of just taking guys who were the best players available, regardless of going, oh well, we need a tight end, so when we get to 28, let's reach on somebody. Like, because we took one of the bespectacled defensive tackles I was a fan of before the draft. We ended up took Miles Murphy there. So I was kind of pretty pleased with that one. And then it was slightly a surprise to me at first when we took Jordan Battle. But I had him rated as one of the better safeties in the class. I thought, oh, that's odd because, we took Dax Hill first round last year and we just signed that boy from the Rams. I forgot his name right now. So I thought, well, it's odd that we're taking another safety. But the thing I was reading about later on in the day was every single one of our safeties and also cornerbacks, with maybe the exception of Hilton, they've all spent time playing cornerback or safety as well. So we can now. Well, Anurimo loves that, like mad scientist, move people around, flip them all around thing. So, but now it's like we literally have guys that if somebody gets injured, say, you can flip Dax Hill over to cornerback because he was doing it this season. So, so I like that. Then the later round picks, it was all about. We obviously kind of took some. We took Chris Young. He looks like a really good receiver. I think that's probably the succession plan for Tyler Boyd because he's turning 30 this year. And Chris Young's lightning quick, looks a good slot receiver. And then the later stuff, we took a Canadian. We took one of the twins, Chase Brown. So that was probably one of my highlights of the draft. Was a Canadian running back who I had rated pretty highly, and we managed to wait and get him in the 5th as well. So that was a pleasant surprise. So I was a big fan of that one.
You didn't get Lumpkins, too. You didn't get Lumpkin.
Johnny Lumpkin. Yeah, he was my undrafted free agent target mainly because of the name. I love so Tom Bombadil in Lord of the Rings, the book, not in the movie. His pony is called Fatty Lumpkin. And I love the fact that there was a player called Johnny Lumpkin, but he was the single biggest, even bigger than Washington, the biggest and heaviest tight end available in the draft. He's apparently not very good at catching, but that doesn't matter because he's basically just an extra offensive lineman. And I kind of was like, just bring him in and, give him a tryout. And if he works out, great. But he went to the Pats, so not pleased about that. But no, overall, A+, or not A+, A. I'll give us an A.
A. Liam, what about yourself? How did you think the Packers did? Round 1, you had Lucas Van Ness. 2, Luke Musgrave, a tight end from Oregon State. Jaden Reed, wide receiver. Tucker Kraft, tight end in the 3rd round. What about yourself? What did you rate?
I thought we did pretty well in the draft. I think we moved around a wee bit, and overall, as you say, Stu touched on, we doubled down on the tight ends, which we needed, and they looked both promising. Well, on paper and some bit of film, looked quite promising up and coming players. So, yeah, I quite liked it. And like Van Ness in the 1st round, kind of typical Packers pick. Like his nickname Hercules, that can only go well, can't it? So we'll take that. I suppose there was some odd picks in there, a wee bit like we took Sean Clifford, the quarterback, quite early. I think he was predicted to go undrafted, but he bet out Will Levis in Penn State, I think. So must have done something right. So, but no, I was quite pleased overall. I thought we got some late wide receivers as well. So, and the other guy looks quite good as Brooks, defensive tackle. I think he looks like a bit of a steal. I think he was in the 5th. It's a 5th or the 6th. I think he was. So yeah. I think overall a B plus A minus. I'd probably say I'm quite happy.
And look, Van Nesse's dad had a great draft night. He was getting a bit handsy with his darling son's other half caught on camera.
What about yourself, Dan? Mazzy Smith in the first round, Luke Schoonmaker in the second, got a linebacker in the third, Vilaime, Fihoko, the edge in the fourth round. Happy with you? Oh, of course, we have to mention the sixth round, pick number 212, Deuce Vaughn. Got the phone call from his dad. That was just a little bit of the magic of the NFL right there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'll start talking about that. That was phenomenal. I mean, I don't know if have you seen all the videos? Have you seen the video of his dad talking to him outside the room? And you're just thinking, and you're just like, the poor boy's apologising to his dad for not being drafted. Do you know what I mean? And then he walks back into the room and Jerry Jones says to him, "There you go, there's the draft pick." But I've just literally, we'll talk about the rest of it, but I've just looked at Vaughn's stats just while we were waiting there. In the last 2 years, he's got the most scrimmage yard in college football from a running back position.
Yeah, Dan, I had him mocked kind of a lot higher than he went as well, especially because this year's it was obviously flush with running backs, but there was a few that went before him that I rated him higher than, if that makes sense. So yeah, you've got a good one there.
Yeah, because Vaughn's total scrimmage yards was 4.884 and Bijan was 4.215. A massive difference, and he's getting 11 yards average receiving for a running back.
That's huge. Which
is nutty. That's like nutty.
If you think that, that's the thing is like Pollard also has that kind of dual threat ability. So now you have two of them.
Yeah,
kind of thing. So
oh my God, they've got two of them.
I mean, obviously we've always had Elliott there as now became this sort of power back rather than your first choice. But we're now looking at, we've got a lot of flexibility running back now. They all seem to be both dual threat. We don't really have that. Potentially we'll still pick someone up that's going to give us that kind of third down, 1 yard, 2 yard running. I mean, but overall, I'm happy with our draft. I think was it a bit of smoke and mirrors about the tight end that made partly we wanted Mazzy Smith the whole time. But we forced the Bills to trade up just to get Kincaid ahead of us. Looking at the other ones, Schoonmaker, we knew we needed a tight end. Bit of charity, he might have been a reach when we took him, but we don't know. I think we got to the point where he was the only good tight end left, and we thought, well, we need one. We better just take him because he's there. Overshawn, potential there at linebacker. Fihoko, I think will be a good pickup for us. I think he'll do well. He's already committed to the department. We've told him to bulk up a wee bit so he can play tackle a bit as well as defensive end. And Eric Scott as well. I think with Dan Quinn being there, I think Eric Scott could kind of get more consistency and improve his game a bit under Dan Quinn as well. So I think overall, I'm not going to give us a rating because I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm happy with it.
Brian, the Cleveland Browns took, who did they take in the first round? Oh no, hold on, wait. Who did they get in the second round?
This is why you've given me last.
Hold on,
we're not doing the draft board and all.
Brian, considering you didn't pick until the 73rd pick, and when you got Cedric Tillman, a wide receiver for Tennessee, which is actually one of the fine picks for your team.
Yeah, Tillman. It was 74. 74 was our first in the clock, and we get Tillman, which I was delighted with. Our draft was okay. Yeah, I think that's kind of the fairest evaluation I can give of the Browns. The Browns draft. I'm happy with everybody we got. I don't look at any of the players we got and went, why have we drafted somebody there? You know, I mean, we've lots of kind of different positions I need and stuff. We didn't address areas that I really think we needed to. You know, I mean, the secondary is still a worry. We picked up Cameron Mitchell, cornerback, in the 7th, but we need more help at linebacker. We need help at safety. So I don't know if there's plans afoot to try and address that through, picking up free agents or what have you. Yes, we absolutely needed to go and get somebody else for the wide receiver room. Grabbing Tillman looks like a brilliant pick. He'll be cheap coming in the 3rd round and all the rest of it. So it's fine. We can experiment with him. Siaki Ika, who we got in the 3rd, the big defensive tackle out of Baylor. is brilliant. Looks like an absolute player, and again, we need help on the line. I think we've went with what a lot of teams seem to have been doing this year, and we have just kind of went best player available. We've not went out of our way to say, right, we need somebody at edge, so we're just going to take the best edge and leave these other guys on the board, which is kind of the way of the league. It's probably the way that drafts will be ran for the future, and there is merit to it.
Hey, Brian.
I do worry about some of their holes, but
Brian, I was going to say, I was just quickly looking up the PFF draft ranking, and I found like just their top 10 ranking of teams. So they actually have the Cleveland Browns at 8th best draft of the overall. So I know you were saying like it was just okay kind of thing, but I think to me, I thought you did very well, and it was just through what you said, taking best player available, and considering you didn't take to the third round, I think you've done excellent work, and it's a rival team, so well done.
To wind it up, you know what I mean, and it's where I get PFF, but it's where I think some of the stats that come out of that can be a bit misleading, because the way a lot of they do it is that they look at their the consensus projections and how many did you get after when they should have went off the board, and we've done well by that regard. But as I say, there's work to be done in free agency. I think to round the team out, but that's the same for everybody.
Fantastic.
I do also
for myself, the Seahawks, I'm absolutely delighted. Devin Witherspoon, that sounds like a total Pete Carroll pick. Somebody that's a clever guy that we're getting real competition. Cornerback, especially after I was listening to one of our podcasts today, and they were talking about the defeat to the 49ers, and that was where we were really, really struggling. So it looks as if we've filled a need there. But for myself, I'm delighted that we've went out and got Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think that's
so jealous of that pick. That's
terrific,
such a good pick.
Terrific. Absolutely delighted with that. Derek Hall, great, but Zach Charbonnet as well. We bit happy with that one. As you say, it takes a wee bit of pressure off Kenneth Walker. He was injured a wee bit last season, his first full season in the NFL. So I think we've got a talent there and somebody that can lighten the load a wee bit for him there. Absolutely delighted with that. So yeah,
I just love how you
A plus for the
fantasy
Seahawks.
football player. I just love how you've upset everybody that plays fantasy football. So I've just went, that's Kenny Walker's value and Charbonnet's values. Both we were talking about this during the draft. It's the difference between real football and fantasy football. That was a fantastic real football draft pick, but it tanks fantasy so hard.
Yeah.
Guys, we're going to be finishing up just now. So before we go, though, we have to, of course, get our statistic of the week. And over to you, Stu, for you impart your fine knowledge upon us.
Okay, statistic of the week. So it's a kind of simple one this week again, and related to the draft. So this year in the 2023 draft was the record was set for most Canadian players or Canadian-born players selected, with 5 overall, up from the previous record of 4, which was set in 2021. But yeah, we had. First guy that went was Matthew Bergeron, who is absolutely outstanding. He's an offensive tackle. Name. Matthew Bergeron. Yeah, he's known as the... what's he called? The Victoriaville bulldozer or something like that, I think they call him.
So he's like a maple leaf birthmark.
Probably. But anyway, so I think the Falcons are listing him as a guard for now, but he's a left tackle, but he can obviously play across the line. Excellent in run blocking. So with them taking Bijan as well, I think that's going to work out pretty well for Atlanta, and they're a team that likes running the ball anyway, so he's going to fit in perfectly. After that, you had the first of the twins, Sidney Brown. He's a safety, and he went to the Eagles, so again, perfect landing spot for him. Sidey Sow, he went to the Pats, I think, New England Patriots. Then Tavius Robinson from the University of Guelph, he went to the Baltimore Ravens. He's an edge rusher, so again, another good landing spot for him. And then, of course, my Cincinnati Bengals taking Sydney's identical twin brother, who plays at running back instead of safety for some reason. Which is interesting when you consider they're twins. You go like, would you not think you would probably end up playing similar
Corner.
positions. Anywho,
Aye.
corner. But anywho, he's playing running back for us, so he's.
I was thinking about it. Growing up, they had to play against each other in the back.
There you are.
In the
Aye.
back garden, one had to be the
See?
defense, one had to be the offense.
Aye.
Well, you would think the Chase would be at least be a wide receiver then or something like that. Although he is actually very good at receiving and running with the ball. So I mean,
Maybe their dad couldn't
maybe
throw the ball.
maybe we'll turn him into a slot, like. But anyway, there you go. Yeah, 5 Canadians drafted, and they've all landed in pretty much, apart from the Pats, they've all kind of landed in competing teams. Although, like Atlanta, I would say are competing just because of the division they're in, like running the ball, and now they're Bijan. So
competing in the loosest
Telling
of
you-
all terms.
Dude, you've got to keep this up. We'll be getting sponsored by Canadian Club by the end of the year. This is
No, that's
the
it. That's
year.
what I'm aiming at. Like, we could do our CFL draft episode in a few days. I should say Chase Brown was
Definitely.
also drafted by the Montreal Alouettes as well yesterday or 2 days ago. So he's been drafted by 2 teams. So get that right up, you Brian. How many teams have you been
Nice.
drafted by?
Magnificent.
None that are aware of it.
Guys, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us. Liam, thank you very much.
No, thank you as always. It's been a pleasure.
Dan, been terrific again, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again, guys.
Brian, all the very best with the upcoming birth of the little one. Hope everything goes well for the family, mate.
More than paternity leave. Aye. Thank you very much, Keith. It's been a
4 weeks
pleasure.
we
Going.
get. 4 weeks we get now. It's magnificent.
I'm going to be looking into this because I'm genuinely
Brian
thinking
looks
I'm
in
only getting 2. I'm genuinely sure this is something Brian's going to be taking this up with the legal team.
No, I got 4. Anyway, Stu, gentlemen, as always, thanks very much, mate.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me on again, and it's been a delight as always.
Fantastic. I've been Keith McGinty, and as always, if you have enjoyed listening to the crew, you can get in touch on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook. Find us there, search Gridiron Crew, and we'll be back next week to have a wee look at some more news that's happening in the NFL, and we've got another 6 months to go till September. So it's getting closer and closer, but the long dark nights are behind us. The short dark nights are ahead.
It's only 4 months.
4 months. 4 months. There we go.
There you go.
Flying in.
It's flying in.
Well, that was like 2 months already. But listen, the crew, we'll see you through it. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll speak to you next week.